Welcome to Alchemical Science. I'm Jordan, an open source researcher currently covering everything to do with Malcolm Bendall and his Plasmoid technology. Alright, time for another Plasmoid tech update. Firstly, I hope you enjoyed the Thunderstorm Generator build guide the other day. Sorry about the audio mess up. I'm a one-man, unskilled editing team, so you'll just have to suck it up and listen to that one out of your left speaker for now, and I'll continue to improve things as I go. To those who think they can pull off the build and put one together, I really look forward to seeing your experimental builds, and I hope you'll share any interesting data you gain with us all. I have some optimization tips for your build recently published by a team of independent researchers in Germany coming up later in the video, so stay tuned for that. Nikita Vovk, the author of the models that I based the build guide on, has also provided me with some simple material lists for the spheres and the tubes that should help you source the correct parts if you're looking for them. And if you're in the US, if you're looking at where he got them from. And I've included the link in the description for that, and I've also added it to the link for the build guide video too, so make sure you check that out as an addition to the build guide. For the rest of us who are waiting on precision-made commercial units or parts, there's a bit of news on that side of things too, which I'll get to in a moment, a bit of movement. But before we get to that, a quick 5-second plug for my good self. If you want to keep up to date with everything happening around the Plasmoid technology, Malcolm Bendall, vortex-based maths, and the rediscovery of the ancient lost sciences, please subscribe to the channel so you know where to find me. And if you want to help me keep putting out content like this and improving my production quality and quality control as I go, please consider donating to the channel or joining as a monthly member. Your support directly enables me to spend my time on open source projects like this. Many thanks to those of you who've made a contribution so far. To the gentleman asking me to cut my hair, have a shave, and turn down the banging classical music tunes, you can't tame Australians. Look at Malcolm Bendall. Untamable. We're born rebels. The hair will not change anything. The big news is that the first 25 pre-production units of the Thunderstorm Generator are being prepared to be sent out to research teams around the world. And this is really good news, as a huge bottleneck in gaining more peer-reviewed data on the Thunderstorm Generator so far has been the fact that there have been very few assembled prototypes available as of yet. The independent reviews so far have mostly come from a few scientists who've helped assemble the retrofit before the conferences and perform trials on the demo unit, and then subsequently from a first few adopters who built their own experimental prototypes afterwards to conduct further analysis, as well as the original teams that worked on with the tech when Malcolm was building it back in the day. And there's been a few of those over the years, so... the news of the 25 pre-production units going out to scientists and research teams should mean a flood of new peer-reviewed data coming in the near future, with potentially some exciting new optimizations and new discoveries as well. And I'll be keeping you up to date with all of the significant data coming in from these independent teams around the world as it's published, as it's made public. So here in Australia, I'll also be covering the revival of the Plasmoid car, which we promised a while ago. And Malcolm's sending the parts for that, and the mechanics over here are really looking forward to getting it going again. So we'll, of course, be going and driving it around to a few events once that's up and running again. So also you Australians that have been reaching out to me who want to come and check it out or collaborate, I'll let you know where you'll be able to find us and we can all meet up then. It might be a few months from now, but it'll likely happen early next year, somewhere in Victoria, and probably a field day. So more news regarding the mass production side of things. Land Logical have been granted licensing in the UK to produce the mass manufactured units there and distribute them. They're a well-established family-owned company who have multiple generations of experience in the energy and environmental sectors and are involved in many existing large-scale projects. And, you know, that's not a pitch someone gave me. That's just from going and having a look at their website and finding out what they're about. So my own personal words to describe it. And they join Alpha Prospects, who are the Thailand licensee and have provided capital over the long term for Malcolm's initial prototypes. And there are now several heavyweight manufacturers involved in mass production and distribution side of the technology. So things are moving really fast as far as this is concerned. So we can have a high hope that we will see an initial commercial model available to purchase next year, even if it's just an experimental unit or one predetermined engine that they've optimized the model to. But let's get on to talk about some of the independent trials and analysis that have been done recently. First, if you still haven't taken a look, I highly encourage you to go and check out Nikita's full open review of the retrofit. He's published a number of initial findings there, and it contains a wealth of information. If you're trying to follow my build guide video and put a unit together yourself, then the diagrams and the models that Nikita provides in the document are really a quite invaluable resource. So if a few people have been asking for the PDF version of that video, there it is. Go check it out. Link will be in the description as usual. And there's also been some new information published very recently by a group of researchers in Germany, and it details their initial exhaust gas measurements, fuel consumption tests, and poses their key observations and questions for the future trials. And of primary interest to those following the build guide, they provide us with several suggested optimizations for the retrofit. They've improved the seal of the screw connection at the top of the bubbler using elastic adhesive over a large area. So it's worth noting that this can be a point where a lot of vibration happens, so it's worth overdoing the seal here immediately. At least that was their analysis of the situation. They also added an alternative petrol supply in the form of a 100 ml syringe so they could more easily conduct the trials. So if you're going to be doing trials yourself, this could be a good idea to think about. They made a change to the speed control here. So again, it can be noted that this may be worth playing around with if you're troubleshooting, trying to optimize your build. And when running this particular prototype, they found that there was an approximate center position of the choke lever where the generator runs smoothly without pumping at all. So again, as we already noted in the build guide, messing around with the airflow through the carburetor is one of the first things we can do to find a sweet spot when trialing the retrofit and trying to find those sweet spots to get it running well. Malcolm advised the team to shorten the connection between the upper sphere and the exhaust flange to make it as short as possible. So it sounds like this is something that we should consider for our builds as well and make that as short as possible. And that's all for now. I've uploaded and shared the original document in the description, and all credit for this work goes to Thorsten, Karsten, Stefan, Carl, Roland, and Klaus. And I encourage you to go and read their full document. And you'll see them credited there. Bob Greenyer from the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project took a scraping from the sphere of the grid-tied Perkins gas generator in the UK, and he spent some time analyzing the sample under the scanning electron microscope. So you can go and check out his full live video of this session on the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project YouTube channel, and the link's in the description as usual. Some anomalies did show up in the sample, such as aluminium, molybdenum, amorphous carbon, and some interesting vortex formations which show consistency with the results obtained from Bob's previous ball lightning experiments. So it's quite interesting, but this is all suggestive that transmutation is occurring, but it's pretty hard to gain a lot of conclusive data from these scrapings. There's not that much there, just these particular parts which are very interesting. So Bob's going to repeat his analysis under the SEM, but this time on a piece cut out of one of the spheres. So this should provide a much more reliable and conclusive picture of what's occurring, and I eagerly await to see his results there. There's also a couple new videos on the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project channel showing the sunlight reflecting on what looks like crystal formations on the outside of the spheres on the large-scale retrofit in the UK. And it's quite phenomenal, but we'll need to await to be viewed under the SEM to really find out what's going on here. It's very, very interesting. And also in regards to the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project, after I put out a call to form a Discord server to discuss the tech, their Discord team reached out to me to invite us to join their existing server. So if you're interested in discussing the technology with other interested folk, hit the invite link in the description and come and join the discussion there. And just please remember that the server's only intended for constructive research, discussion, and questions around these ideas, which Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project have been researching and discussing for some years already. So please have that attitude going in. More general news. We can find an article published on Medium a few days ago that tells us that we're not the only ones currently looking into plasmoids. The paper states that a Dr. Jack Nakamkin from the Edwards Air Force Base was conducting an examination of Ken Shoulders and Hal Putoff's work on exotic vacuum objects, EVOs or plasmoids. And so the more you look into plasmoids, the more you realize that they're really not a new idea. They've been given various names by various independent scientists who studied them in some form or another. But there is a fair bit of historical research on them. Plasmoids, homeostatic fields of toroidal structured plasma, undeniably exist, and understanding them appears to be absolutely fundamental to us taking the next step in physics and moving forward to safe and effective analog technology, or technology that's harmonized with the processes of the natural world. Anyway, I'll leave you to check out that article yourself if you're interested, and the link's in the description as usual. Last update for today, and this is a really cool one. A book was recently, well, actually not that recently, 2022, March 2022, released by Robert Temple called A New Science of Heaven. And I was recommended it recently by a couple of people involved with the Plasmoid tech, including Malcolm. And I'm just a few chapters in, about 4 chapters in as of this video, but it's really an excellent read so far. And Robert clarifies a lot of the questions around plasma and structured plasma, or ball lightning plasmoid phenomena, based on years of empirical study of the works of scientists like Paul Dirac, David Bohm, Peter Mitchell, and Chandra Wickramasinghe. Robert even delves quite deeply into the consciousness aspect exhibited by plasma and where the science is at in regards to exploring this phenomena. And Robert presents quite a compelling argument that on a high level, these seemingly radical ideas about plasma are actually fairly well accepted and far more researched than the public and even other scientists outside of the narrow field of plasma physics generally understand. A lot of the ideas around Malcolm Bendel's technology are pretty new and unfamiliar to many scientists outside of some specific narrow postgraduate fields. So Robert Temple's book comes at a pretty excellent time to help us all get at our heads around the decades of plasma research that have gone mostly unnoticed. So I highly recommend grabbing a copy and taking the time to give it a read. It's also available on Audible, narrated by the author, so you can listen to it while you work on your Thunderstorm Generator build if you like. I'll certainly be referencing it quite heavily along with Malcolm himself as usual in my own explanation of the science behind the Thunderstorm Generator to come soon. That's all for this Plasmoid Tech update. I'll keep the update videos coming as things progress, and I'm still working on new videos on the mathematics and geometry side of things too, which are coming together really well, but it's very slow progress due to all the interesting developments going on with the tech lately that I've wanted to cover. The Industrial Revolution may have not fully played out in the physical world yet, but it has sure been occurring in my head. There is a lot to cover and break down around this from many angles, but we're going to get there. We're going to keep going. Thanks for your support. Stay tuned for more. Bye for now.